My loves, today I want to talk a bit about men and sexual energy because there is a lot of information out there for women, but very little for men. And it's not just men that need that information, but also women who actually need to understand that men are not just sex-driven monsters, but that there is also hormonal imbalances that happen within them before, during, and after intercourse. Men are taught by our society not only that they shouldn't be showing emotions and any kind of sign of weakness, but more so, it is considered real manhood the more women they have. And there is a lot of peer pressure going on inside masculine circles between men themselves. The truth is, though, that when men enter a whore phase where they have several women at the same time and they just sleep around because it's fun, because they like it, or perhaps just because they think this is something that they should do, they need to understand that they also pick up on the energy of the woman. A man, when he's having too many women at the same time, can really experience a downfall, not just in his masculinity, but in its overall success in life. The difference in sexual energy between men and women is that when a woman orgasms, her orgasm happens internally. That means it fills her up with energy. Whereas when a man orgasms, obviously the ejaculation causes him to have the energy being released out of his body, leaving him afterwards tired. That's why, for example, top athletes are advised not to be intimate with their partners before a big game, because it literally drains them of their life force energy. We need to understand that men and women are very different, in case you haven't noticed yet. And I'm not just talking about our anatomy and the genitals, but especially about our biology, because men are genetically designed to spread their sperms to as many possible fertile women as they can. And I'm not saying this to excuse any kind of bad behavior or justify what men potentially misuse. But this information is merely there to help us understand each other more, because we women like always men to understand our emotions and what we are going through, but we tend to ignore what is naturally actually happening and going on within them. Have you ever slept with a man who was very charming, courting you, and doing everything that he can, only to disappear after you've been intimate with him? I am sure that most of you are just like, yes, yes. One of the reasons why men do that, and again, this is not to justify or to excuse, but this is really to help us understand what can go on inside of a man's brain, other than the classical, he was just not that into you, is something that we call the post-nut syndrome, aka postcoital tristesse. This is actually a serious issue that has been plaguing men for centuries. It's the feeling of sadness, anger, frustration, depression, and regret after busting a nut. That's why post-nut syndrome. And it's usually caused due to a dopamine receptor decrease after ejaculation. Men tend to be super sweet and loving while they're intimate with a woman, because the emotions and the feelings and the desire that he's having in that moment can overtake him. We usually tend to say, never believe what a man says to you during sex, but listen to what he says afterwards. And that is frankly related to that syndrome that very few know of, not even men themselves. It's the regret that kicks in afterwards for doing something that they knew actually before wouldn't be the best for them. This syndrome is one of the reasons that they feel depleted, but it really depends on the relationship the man has with this woman, and usually tends to happen, as I said, during one-night stands or random hookups, or even if they're having a situationship with someone that they know is not going anywhere because they don't want to, but they still take the pleasure because they can. It is statistically proven that men who have one real woman for them in their life are more successful, because they focus their energy, their sexual energy of creation to this particular woman that they have in their life, to their careers, to their money-making process, to everything, versus the men who are spreading their energy short amongst multiple women. Because usually how you do one thing is how you do everything else. Again, this video is not to bust the balls of men, but it's merely there to help us understand one another, but also for men to understand that it's not just women who pick up sexual energy from men and store it in the womb and can carry the debris of it with them, letting them feel low and tired without even knowing why, but it's also men who can spread themselves thin by not respecting their own sexual energy and even understanding their own evolution and their own emotions that are coming with it. But before I keep talking, I'm going to add another video right now just after mine where two gentlemen are speaking about a similar topic. And I'm sure that men talking about man stuff is going to enlighten you even more. Sending you so much love. Mwah.
Hooking up is fun, but it's completely useless and degenerate.
Be a hoe no more.
Sure, do it, but you're not gonna get anything from it. And everybody figures that out at some point. I just happen to have been lucky enough to have never wasted that time or energy. And so a lot of people ask me how I become so successful so young. I had so much going for me so early on. Was because I wasn't wasting my energy out. I was putting it in one woman, making babies and building businesses.
Yeah.
That's it. I had nothing else on my mind, and I was a strong man, so I'm lifting.
Yeah. Like in my experience, like I've had one girlfriend for 6 years now. Before that, I was the king of man horse. Right?
Right.
I did what I needed to do, right? I know firsthand the amount that you're able to achieve and create and do when you have one and you don't think about anything else. It's not a little bit more, it's exponentially more. It is unbelievably more.